Hi, my name is Brian Howard, and welcome to another edition of the podcast. This is Calgary Living, Real Estate, and Lifestyle.
Awesome. And I'm Cole Valley here with the Howard team. And today we're going to chat about different items for first-time home buyers that looking to get into the market, and what types of things they should be thinking of before they purchase. Tips and tricks on saving, on investing prior, saving up for a down payment, and what types of programs are available to be able to help them with that.
And Cole, you suggested this as a topic. You've done a lot of work yourself with first-time buyers, and you've recently been, in the last 12 months, a first-time buyer yourself, I believe.
Yeah.
And so in terms of some of do you want to give us like the rundown of one, two, three, probably four programs that a first-time buyer should be aware of, just the titles, and then we'll dig into each one?
Totally, yeah. So as a first-time home buyer, I did purchase a house there last year in June, and as a first-time home buyer, a couple things you want to keep in mind. So first one's going to be your your FHSA, so your first home savings account. You can put up to $8,000 into that account every single year, and you can get that up to $40,000 and use that for a down payment on your home. So FHSA. Other one's going to be your RRSP, the first home savings plan. So you can pull from your RRSP and use that towards a down payment on a home, and you can pay back that loan as up to 15 years.
Cole, there's four programs for a first-time home buyer should probably be aware of. Can you give us those four?
Yeah. So first home savings account, your GST rebate, 30-year amortization, and then first home savings plan.
Great. Okay, so that's the four things. So go ahead, and the first one that you mentioned was?
Yeah, so the FHSA. So
FHSA, that stands for First Home
Savings Account.
First Home Savings Account. There you go.
Yeah, so as a first-time home buyer, someone who hasn't purchased a home before, you can invest $8,000 every year, up to a total of $40,000 for the purpose of a down payment on a residential property.
And when you say you can invest that tax-free.
Correct. Yeah. So, say if you put that into just a GIC, or you put that into the market, anything earned from that 8,000 throughout that year, and as that builds 16, 24, et cetera, anything that is earned on that, that's tax-free within that account.
And so if you're in your, let's say any age, but typically you're in your mid-20s and you're able to maybe generate, maybe you've got your first job out of whatever school kind of thing that's paying you an income that's more than just living, kind of able to live, then you can take that, you're getting paid, you can take that money, put it in your first-time home savings account,
FHSA.
FA account, and you take that money at $8,000 and you max it up to $8,000 per year, and that you will not pay tax on that.
Totally, yeah.
And then it can increase you invest it wisely, and can you self-direct it?
You could use it through a self-directed account, right? Or you could just go to your bank and do something to, if it's for the purpose of a first-time home purchase, you might want it to be a little bit more stable. May just do a GIC, take a little bit of interest on it and keep it kind of safe and growing. And the other advantage of that is you put that $8,000 in, that also comes off your taxable income. So you have both the benefits of a TFSA or an RRSP within that FHSA account. So not only do you anything earned within that account is tax-free, but also that's tax deductible. So if you made $60,000 in the fiscal year of 2026, for example, you would now be taxed on 52, right? So you have both of those advantages within that account, and definitely something to recommend to any first-time home buyer.
And is that the very first program someone who's, let's just say, a first-time home buyer is thinking about programs? Is that the first one they should and need to know about?
Totally, yeah. I think the way I look at it is in terms of priority, right? For someone who hasn't purchased a home before, FHSA to be the number one, and then the TFSA would be number two for me. Some might debate on RRSP being up there if you wanted to use the first home savings plan, as we'll get to later in this video. But that's the order that I would do, and highly prioritize the FHSA for sure. And if you can get $8,000 in there every year, that's a great goal as a first-time home buyer, to put yourself in the best position.
Great. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about we talked about that $8,000, sock it away. comes off of the revenue that the income that you've made, and it's tax deductible. Our next program that a first-time home buyer might want to be aware of.
Totally. So yeah, we'll touch on the first home savings plan, which I just talked about. So that's where what you can do is, if you have money in your RRSP, your Registered Retirement Savings Plan, you can actually withdraw from that account tax-free for the purpose of a first-time home account, right? And typically with the RRSP, that money you put in and you invest, it's for your retirement, right? So typically that's money you're putting away that you're not going to be touching until you're 65, right? So for younger people looking to get their first home, they've put some money away into that account, and oh man, I can't touch anything within this account till 65, right? So if you want to access that capital and use it for the purchase of a first-time home, you can actually withdraw from that tax-free, use that as a portion of your down payment, and you have 15 years to replenish that amount that you've taken out. And yeah, that account works the same way as the FHSA, in the sense that when you put money into that account, that comes off of your tax-free, or that comes out of your taxable income. So same thing, right? Let's say you made a contribution of $10,000 into your RRSP. You might have lots of contribution room as that stacks up, and you can see that on your MyCRA account, or chat with your accountant. But as you put money into that account, that amount grows. You can take out of that account with the first home savings plan and use that as a down payment on your first time home, and you can do so tax free, and then you have 15 years to replenish that amount.
Okay, so Cole, that becomes really clear to you. I'm going to slow it down a little bit.
Totally.
Okay, so I'm deciding I'm going to buy my first home sometime. So I've accessed the first program, and I threw $8,000 in the first year. I put $8,000 in the second year. I got a gift from XYZ person. They gave me $5,000. I put in another, that third year, I put another topped up, $3,000 or $5,000 to get the $8,000. And that's at $40,000, my first time home savings. Now with my RRSP, I'm also putting money in there because I'm a high income earner. And so I was able, I'm a good saver,
Totally.
Both are great.
Maybe your work matches your investment. If you put in 5, your work will put in 5. Right.
And so now I've have it in my RRSP. I'm really smart. I'm savvy financially because I've studied and I've worked hard, and I maybe even have that maxed out or whatever. Let's just say I have $40,000 in my RRSP as well. So I have $40,000 in my first-time home savings account, and for ease, let's say $50,000 in my RRSP. Can I take out that $90,000?
You can, yeah. You can access capital from both accounts, and then you'd have 15 years to pay back that within your RRSP,
that
right? So that $50,000,
yeah.
And then you would close down your FHSA, withdraw your $40,000 for the purpose of a down payment. So you would have had to do that. You would have had to do that over 5 years, because you can only put an $8,000 amount cap per fiscal year. And say you don't access that full cap, it's not like it stacks in the same way that RRSP space does, right? Or tax-free savings account space does, right? So if you max out 8 every year, it's going to take you 5 years to get to 40, right? So let's say you've been saving up for 5 years. The FHSA has not been out that long, but as you get there over time, you've maxed that out to 40. You can take out your 40, take out your 50 from your RRSP, utilize 90,000 for the purpose of a down payment on a home, and you'd have a really good down payment for a house with that capital.
Okay, great. So we've talked about 2 programs now on first-time home buyers. We talked about the first-time home savings account.
Yep.
And we've talked about maximizing that up to $40,000, and it's got to just go in, and after 5 years you have that money capped out at $40,000. And then the second program that we've talked about is the RRSP. You can just put money in it, and you can it sounds like you can just take out whatever and then pay it back.
Yep. Yeah, you can take, and you don't have to take out the full amount of your RRSP, right? You could just access a little bit of capital from it.
Like up to $300,000 or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, for a first-time home buyer to have 300 in there, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned a third and fourth program. What's program number 3 of first-time home buyers should
just kind of other things that first-time home buyers should be aware of, and in kind of recent changes. One being that now you can actually amortize your mortgage over a 30-year period, as opposed to a 25-year period, and this allows you to get a little bit of extra savings on those mortgage payments, as far as you're paying less per month, right? It's amortized over a longer period of time. And, things to keep in mind with that, you do end up paying a little bit more interest over time, but your payments are going to be more manageable because of that, right? So, that was put in place to help people make homes a little bit more affordable, right? So that's an option is with a 30-year amortization for first-time home buyers and for new builds, right? And the second item there, as pertaining to new builds, is the GST rebate that's been recent news as of May 25th.
Is this the second
2025.
item or is this the fourth item?
This is the fourth item. Yeah,
The fourth
this is
item.
the fourth item we've been talking about. So, yeah.
So fourth item is the GST rebate.
The GST
on
rebate
new homes.
on new homes only. Yes. So
Or condos, I suppose.
yep,
Condos, and homes,
condos
yeah.
would qualify
Yeah.
for this. Townhomes, row homes, you have duplexes, anything new, from a builder, where you normally pay GST on that purchase, you will save that GST, right? So here in Alberta, here in Calgary, you're going to get 5% back, right? In other provinces across the country, like in Ontario, for example, there's even an HST portion to that, where there's some relief that's come into play now. But here in Alberta, as pertains to us locally, the GST rebate is a fantastic incentive, I think, for first-time home buyers. As you can even purchase a home with as little as 5% down, right? So to get that 5% GST rebate back, you can get that back as cash, or can just have that taken off of the total purchase price of the home.
Tell us a little bit about how a buyer could potentially buy using this GST rebate with 5%. How can a buyer buy a home with no money down?
Yeah, totally. So, this might not pertain to everyone, right? But is a very interesting way to look at it, and a little bit of maybe, you could say a tax loophole in a certain sense. So, what a buyer could do is they could actually take out a RRSP loan. So, say let's use we'll use round figures. Let's say they go and they take an RRSP loan of $25,000, right? And they go and put that into their RRSP, their Registered Retirement Savings Plan, right? So they can put that in there, that vests for 90 days. They'll now have $25,000 come off their taxable income from putting that money in, right? Or they could have done that over time, right? Yeah. Now they let that vest for 90 days. They take that money out and they use that for a 5% down payment on a $500,000, semi-detached home, right here in Calgary, and brand new, buy it from the builder. They went and saw it, loved it, and now they use that as a down payment for their house. Then they go and they've got that $25,000 coming off their taxable income for that year. They've used that money to purchase a house, with their 5% down payment, and then they apply for their GST rebate, and they get $25,000 back on a $500,000 home, the same 5% they put down, back as cash, and then they could use that to put that back to the RRSP loan that they've taken out to do so, and repay that. They've got the benefit from lowering their taxable income. Mm-hmm. They've used that capital to purchase the house. And they may have paid that interest on the RRSP loan for that period of time. The money was vested, and they took them to get to closing on the property. But effectively, they've used that money to lower their taxable income and purchase a house, right? So that's a bit of a tax loophole example that people could consider, right? And typically that would more pertain to people who are maybe high income earners, but haven't been the best with saving, putting into their FHSA or some of their other accounts, and don't maybe have a large excess of capital that they can use towards a down payment. And this could be a way to top that up or add to their down payment amount, right?
And you mentioned typically that'd be like a high income earner who doesn't really have savings and hasn't invested wisely, I guess, somewhat, because you're talking about these 4 programs are for the wise person, or at least the person who's aware and has done a little work.
Totally.
So then that high income earner that might take advantage of this program, can you talk to me a little bit more about that person? So that maybe they just want the money, they're using the money in a business or something else that it's an opportunity. They're probably a high income earner, and they're able to qualify for a home. And most homes are above $300,000 and probably $700,000. And so, but they don't have the cash, or they don't want to use the cash, so they would use their RSP, and use the.
Totally, yeah, and I think that's ultimately the right person for that situation, right? They maybe they just had to use the funds that they did have for, say, a car, right? Maybe they're having a baby coming up soon, right? And they just don't have access to those funds, right? Maybe no help from family in that, and they want to purchase a home, they don't want to rent, and it's a way for them to do that when they crunch the numbers that make sense for them. They can still qualify for a mortgage. They've gone through pre-qualification with the mortgage broker and can qualify for a mortgage in an amount of, say, $475,000 in this example of a $500,000 property, and then they can purchase it with as little as 25 down, and they have the income to support that. But maybe just didn't have the capital, right? Or they had allocated that capital to other things, right? And again, this is more of an example, and I don't think pertains to most people, but yeah, it's a good one. I think the biggest thing with that GST rebate is that you can get into a new property, have Alberta new home warranty on it, with as little as 5% down, and you're going to get that GST rebate back or taken off of the purchase price, right? And I think that for first-time home buyers is a great incentive, and something I myself did with my home purchase last year. So
good, yeah, that's great. Well, Cole, is there anything else that we want our podcast listeners to know about being a first-time home buyer and programs to be aware of? Any other tips or tricks?
Yeah, no, I think just saving diligently, right? The biggest thing I think a lot of people tell me about, as a realtor is, saving up for that down payment, obviously qualifying for a mortgage, being a dual income earner, being a dual income household, for purchasing a property definitely helps. So, with saving diligently, there's different ways to do that, right? It's important, I think, to be knowledgeable about these programs, knowledgeable about, okay, let's, put some money away, whether that's in big lump sums. Okay, here, let's throw, $5,000 here, $8,000 into the FHSA, et cetera, and doing that over time. Or even, some people will do it biweekly, right, where they'll have an amount come off their check and go right into an account, right, and kind of compounds throughout the year so that they can budget better. But yeah, worth having those conversations with financial planner, your spouse, partner, taking a look at those programs. Lots of information available online, and just being knowledgeable and diligent in your saving and investing habits before you go to purchase a house. Yeah.
Let me ask you again. So I have a couple of friends who are, a little more, or maybe I should say a lot more financially savvy than myself. And I know a couple of my buddies have talked to me about the socking $8,000 into the first-time home
FHSA, yeah, first home savings account.
And they've done that for their children. Mm-hmm. So they're my age. They have kids, late teens or 20s. Totally. And do you have any thoughts on that? How does, in terms of like speaking to the older my generation kind of thing, how can we be helping our kids with that program?
Definitely, Brian. I think this is a great angle to look at and super important, especially, in today's day and age and, price of homes and just the way things are going, right? And so basically, someone could make that money. They take that $8,000 and they gift it to their children for the purpose of putting into their first home savings account, right? Or say, they could come up with $4 and they gift $4, right, to put into that account, and they do so for a 5-year period with the purpose of, after that point in time, you'll be able to purchase your house and kind of get the birds out of the nest per se, right?
Right. On that note, would a parent such as myself, would it be wiser to put it in the first-time home savings plan, or would it be wiser to put in RRSP? Is there any difference?
Yeah, well, I think the way I look at it is, if you've gifted that to your son or daughter, and for the purpose for them to put it into their account, right? That helps them on their taxable income side of things. Could help you tax-wise as well, and it's kind of for a good purpose of paying it forward, right? And kind of gets into the building building generational wealth as well. Mm-hmm. And so definitely, taking advantage of that creatively, goes a long way. I think the same thing with TFSA contribution room and RRSP contribution room as well. But for the purpose of buying a house, the big one there is, that FHSA. Yeah.
So I actually, as we're having this discussion again, I'm still a little bit, I apologize for being slow. So if for example, I was to gift my son or daughter say $5,000 or $4,000 or $8,000 to start off their first-time home
Savings account.
First-time home savings account. So I gift that there. So there's no as far as I know, there'd be no tax advantage to me because it's money I earned. Then, and if they're low income earners still, is there an advantage to them? Like, what's the advantage there?
Yeah, well, I mean, even if they were still on the lower income side, right, they're still going to get the benefit of of $8,000 off their taxable income. From my understanding as well, there's you can even defer that. So when you make a contribution to your RRSP or to your FHSA, and I would definitely check with an accountant on this. But from my understanding of things, you can actually defer that tax savings to when you are making a higher income.
Oh, you
right?
can. I think you can, because my buddies who've talked to me about this, like, they're really good at this stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
And they've done this. I know they've done this for their kids that aren't really even making money or almost no money. So they must be deferred.
Yeah, and so say a student just out of university, they just got their first job, right? Maybe they're making $55,000-$60,000, right? But in a couple of years, they'll be up for a promotion and might be making 80, 90, right? Where they're going to be more in that higher income side of things, right? So over that time, they put some money into their FHSA, maybe with parental help in that sense, and then they've deferred that tax credit so that they can take that off when they're a higher income earner and utilize it that way, right? So,
well, folks, I appreciate you taking time to watch this. Cole, you've always been talking to me a little about money and finances, and it's not what you make, but it's what you save. Cole's a great example of that, and he's got some real wise wisdom. If you have questions, reach out to Cole directly.
Definitely contact the Howard team. We're here to help.
Thank you.